back with another episode here on the podcast, talking about some tools and resources for authors. And boy, this series seems like it's been going on forever, and for good reason. It actually has been going on for, well, over 12 weeks at this point. And today, we're going to circle back around to a service that I talked about previously, and it was called Storiad. If you're not familiar with it, it's a book marketing service for authors and something worth considering, but a lot has changed. Yeah, it's been less than a year that I actually talked about Storiad and even interviewed the founder of Storiad, and things have changed. And I thought, well, you know what? It's time for us to do a relevant update so that way you're in the know about exactly what is Storiad and is it worth your investment. Hey, before we do jump into that stuff, I just want to kind of give a big quick shout out to my sponsors, Book Award Pro. You know, for the past 4 years, I've leaned heavily on my sponsors, Book Award Pro, to amass over 34 book awards across 7 publications. Book Award Pro has been instrumental in getting my book into the right hands, so I don't have to constantly scour the internet for the right opportunities. Book Award Pro creates ongoing validation, interest, and excitement surrounding your book. You can use Then you can use all this buzz and activity in modern ways to engage readers and increase book sales. Whether you're looking for the right book award programs to apply for or searching for a book reviewer, Book Award Pro has you covered. You can get access when you visit my affiliate link at dalelinks.com/bookawardpro. They work with all authors of every budget, from free to more premium features like the Pro plan. Side note, that's what I use, is the Pro plan, and a little bit of the free plan as well. Again, visit dalelinks.com/bookawardpro for more details. All right, so what is Storiad? And it sounds almost like it's advertising, like you're going to have to pay for an ad. But no, it actually is not. It's actually a good way of marketing and promoting, hence probably the ad part of advertising. Storiad is a digital platform designed to help authors market their work. It provides tools for creating promotional materials, managing media campaigns, and connecting with potential readers, publishers, and agents. Users can build a one-page author profile and website, track their marketing progress, and use analytics to optimize their outreach efforts. The goal of Storiad is to simplify the marketing process for authors, allowing them to focus on, well, what makes the most sense, their work, while expanding their audience. Now, keep in mind, it is what we call a SaaS, a software as a service, meaning that Storiad doesn't do the work for you. They merely give you the tools to make it all happen. Now, how I initially discovered Storiad's pretty interesting. It was actually right around 2020, and I believe it was one of the reps at the time with Storiad had reached out, a longtime follower and supporter of the channel, and said, hey, I think you should check this out. Now, initially, my knee-jerk reaction was, it's a really cool tool, but I was a little bit overwhelmed by all the things that it had in there, and the user interface was, it was okay. It wasn't terrible, but I felt like it needed a big overhaul. So that was around 2020. Now, you fast forward to right about, I would say it was late 2023. So it was a little less than a year ago that I had rediscovered Storiad. Now, this was through an AppSumo limited time deal. Now, if you're not familiar with the AppSumo marketplace, is essentially they sell SaaS products as lifetime discounts or really deeply discounted type products and such. And you can get anything from like deposit photos. You get 100 credits for like $39. I've gotten some really great software over the years. Heck, they even had a deal on Publish Drive where I picked up like 96 credits to publish over to their platform. So yeah, there is a lot going on in AppSumo, and I probably should do that for another day, like covering AppSumo and exactly what all is entailed over there. But today we're focused a bit more on Storiad. So I was really kind of shocked when I saw Storiad there, and I was like, oh, it was a $49 lifetime deal for them. And I'm like, I'm buying it, because under normal circumstances, you can, of course, get the free plan with Storiad, and we'll discuss some of those features later on. And you can get the monthly program, and at the time, they did have a lifetime deal. We'll circle back around to that and how it's no longer available. I was just blown away that they were offering that. To me, it was a stellar deal. When the lifetime deal, that, to say the least, it was not a, that false sense of scarcity. They literally were doing it once. And I did speak with the founder about doing an AppSumo deal again, and he said that's not happening. Big shout out to Ramsey, by the way. Ramsey Haj is just a stellar guy. And if you want to see the full interview or listen to the full interview, I've got a link in the show notes as per usual. Now, why am I covering it so soon after the last time? Because I started talking about it in December and then into January and a little bit into February. But here we are, we're back to it. Well, there's been many changes and improvements, so much so that I feel like it's important that we circle back around to this and make you a bit more aware of it. Not to mention the AppSumo deal is no longer relevant. Like, if you try to go to AppSumo and find that deal, it'll have that deal page there, but unfortunately it'll say, like, we'll give you a notification when it comes live. Spoiler alert, I don't think it's coming at all again. So that was just a one-time thing for sure. And this pricing structure has changed a little bit. Again, I'll kind of circle back around to that as soon as I talk a little bit more about some of the features. So what are the features of Storiad? Well, the very first thing I'm going to say is it's a very intuitive dashboard. Like, you can get around with no problem. If you're brand new to this business, you'll still be able to find your way around that dashboard. It's dead simple. And even if you find that you go and you set up an account and you're still overwhelmed, and I'll discuss this again later on, they actually have some of the best support on the market today. They really want to make sure that you get the most out of your membership with Storiad. So definitely tap into their support if you ever get the opportunity. In fact, even Ramsey said in his interview, like, hey, when you get yourself set up, first thing you should do is contact us and we will walk you through everything. That right there, you will not see another company. You can't sign up for MailerLite and expect for a support rep to kind of show up and walk you through everything. You can't go over to a place like Publish Drive and, well, maybe, but for the most part, usually they're not going to go and handhold walk you through everything. And that's what Storiad does, is they really do want to make sure that you're getting the most out of your account. So let's talk about some of the features that they have. The very first feature they have is called My Books. Now, this is a whole tab on the left-hand side when you get logged in. You can list all the pertinent details about your books. Now, there's unlimited amount of books you can upload. It will take about roughly 10-15 minutes to fill out a book profile, but for the most part it's really simple. You're going to put in the cover, the title, the description, and any samples, whether you have like an audio sample or a digital sample, because what it's going to do is it's going to create like a landing page that you can send people to. And having the audio sample and the digital sample, it's almost like having your own store. Think of it like the equivalent of having an Amazon product page. Now, you're probably going to say, Dale, like, why don't just send people over to Amazon? Now, if you're a wide published author, this can be very beneficial, especially if you're doing something like a universal book link. I'm going to get to that in just a second here. But additionally, you put on the book, you have the author information, what's going to, of course, include your name and your bio. You're going to have any relevant book links, including a YouTube link for book trailers, hype reels, or videos pushing your book. You got a buy now link. Now, I recommend with that buy now link, use a universal book link if you can. Now, a universal book link removes that friction. Instead of sending someone over to, let's say, Amazon.com, despite them being in UK or Australia or somewhere else throughout the world, they're not able to buy that book through a .com address unless it's local to their region. So universal book links remove that friction. Now, you can find universal book links. It's not available through Storiad, but you can get like Books to Read, which I highly recommend. It's a drafted digital owned company, dead simple to set up. It takes a few minutes of time to kind of get everything kind of put together, but for the most part, having a universal book link is really nice. And what I do is I take my universal book link, I put it into the buy now link. So when someone goes over to my book's product page, they have that link, they have all the information that they need. If you put the UBL by itself, the universal book link that is, yeah, you're going to still get those links, but problem is it removes some of that context. With Storiad, it gives a lot of that context, and it gets it to where you're able to sell that just a little bit more. You can also include any type of press release links, a review copy link, which is really nice. So if you're using, like, say, for instance, Story Origin or Book Sprout or Book Funnel, any of those that do review copies for advanced reader copy teams as well, you can go ahead and insert that there. Now, just fair warning, again, that's not something Storiad arranges, so you would have to kind of put that review copy link together ahead of time. And then last but not least, you actually will have the Goodreads link, which of course makes things a lot easier. If you're saying, hey, go review my book, you can always just share that product page that you've done through Storiad. They could click on the Goodreads link, go on over there and drop a link for you. And also they have publishing details on the product page, which of course is going to include the publisher name, the published date, the print dimensions, so for instance the trim size, the number of pages, the price for print books and ebooks. They also have both ISBNs, the ISBN 10 and ISBN 13, the language, available rights, and selling territories. So you can see Storiad's very thorough about what they're doing with your product page, because they want to kind of get it to where it's kind of a standalone feature. And it's really neat because you do get an author profile that's going to include all of the books that you can, have on your account associated to you, so you can always make life a little easier. Instead of sending someone over to, say, Amazon author profile that you have through Author Central, you can always go through Storiad and put it through there. Again, there's a lot more flexibility, I believe, and it's just a bit more intuitive for a lot of new customers. So sending them towards that direction is definitely a good option. The next section is the book section, which is the most important to laying the groundwork for future marketing projects. You can't simply just go and set up an author profile and all that other type of jazz without having the book. So I recommend when you do open up your Storiad account, sure, get a hold of support, get your free consultation, do all that stuff, get it set up, then go on in, get those books uploaded. It's going to take you a few minutes, especially if you have a deep backlog of books. You can anticipate it'll take about 10, 15 minutes tops to do each one of those books. But as soon as it's up, it's all set. You can always come back and edit anything. For some reason, it's just not jiving with you, or you've got new links, you can always do that. And so it doesn't take too long. Again, the next tab they have is what's called the Outreach tab. And this is the one that resonated the most with me, because there are so many opportunities for marketing and promotion online these days, and it's just so overwhelming. Sure, we can go ahead and do the old Google search, but the problem is you got to sift through everything and figure out what's good, what's not. Should you approach this person? Should you not approach this person? Whereas with Storiad's contacts database that they have through the Outreach tab, it is so much more simple, because they have a filter you can kind of go in, figuring out whether you want to contact anybody from like podcasters to influencers to book bloggers, reviewers, and more. I mean, there's a lot, even like I think local media, that type of thing. There's over 49,000 contacts from all walks. In fact, I think there was significantly less earlier this year, and it looks like they're getting ready to hit 50,000 contacts. Now, just a heads up though, I do notice from time to time that some of the contacts are dead within the contacts database. If you do find a dead profile, like a dead website link, or they're no longer accepting books, make sure you contact support and let them know about that dead link. They will remove it. It's so important that you communicate that with them, because unless authors tell them that there's an issue, they won't know that there's an issue. So that contacts database is really nice, because you can go in and find out all pertinent details, including the name of the person you can reach out to, the role that they have, the website they have, the email address, all of that stuff. And again, you have a filter that you can kind of go through and figure out what's most pertinent to what you're doing for your marketing promotion. You then can create a curated list of contacts within a database. So when you go into your database, let's say, for instance, you'll see there's a lot of like contacts that are like for romance authors. And if you're not a romance author, it's probably not going to be important to you. So I would say that when you get the opportunity, is go through, create yourself your own list of contacts. Let's say, for instance, a list of influencers, or a list of podcasters, or a list of YouTubers or Instagrammers, all of that. And you can put all these lists together. So then when you get ready to do a marketing campaign, all you have to do is select that specific list to contact them. And it makes it so much simpler. And the really big bonus of this one right here is you can even import your own contacts. So let's say, for instance, you have your own. Rather than reaching out to them from your own email address, you can always go into Storiad and do it that way. It gets it to where you have less friction, not having to kind of go, okay, I got to look this person up, and then I got to go over here to my email, and I got to contact them through this email. The really cool thing is when you do any type of email outreach, which is a perfect segue because I was going to talk about that next, is you can select the database, and then they have a ton of different templates you can pull from based on how you're trying to reach them, what you're requesting of them, and then you can customize each one of the emails, which I 100% believe you should take the time to go in and customize each one of the emails based on how you're sending it out. Now, if for some reason you want to ignore me and you go, Dale, I just want to kind of press the button, send it out, and it markets it to all those. Fantastic, that's great. But it kind of comes off a little spammy if you don't take a little bit of time to fix some of those templates, so that way it's a bit more personalized and they feel like you're not just trying to beat them up so you can promote your book. So the email outreach area is pretty awesome. You can create your own email campaigns for outreach about your book within the dashboard. Dead simple. Love that. So you curate the list. When you get the list put together, all you got to do is come back in to it time and again, based on whatever it might be. Let's say you've got an upcoming book that you want to get reviews on. You've got a full list that you put together in advance. All you got to do is boom. Sure, A little bit of work is required up front, but if you take your time and you put these lists together, you won't have to worry about that work. Each and every single time, all you got to do is click that list, boom, you can move on. Now, I would recommend that from time to time, you go back and double check that list. Make sure that you can, first of all, that it's not a dead contact. And the next thing is you want to make sure that, any new contacts are added to that list. So I love the contacts database. That is probably the biggest selling point, in my opinion, of all in Storiad. That's my personal opinion. There's so many other features. Now, when it comes to other features as well, they have what's called the calculators, which is the profit and loss calculator and book worth calculator. I've got to admit to you that I have not spent too much time. If you are the type of person, though, that wants to track all of your expenses and earnings for a particular book and figure out the worth of a book, that would be for you. Now, in the event that let's say, for instance, you want to sell your KDP account or something else like that, the book worth calculator is going to be one of those instances that if you're selling the rights to your book to somebody, you can always go into that book worth calculator, screen capture that information, and share it with the person that's wanting to buy your assets. The other feature that they have, which is really, really neat. Now, you have the author profile. It's nice, but it's kind of a one page. Whereas with the author website, you are getting a fully customized website through WordPress and Elementor. Now, just as a heads up, web hosting for WordPress typically costs between $3 to $50 per month, depending on the hosting type and provider, of course. And then Elementor, which is essentially like a drag and drop interface that you can use to make your WordPress stuff look good without having to figure out coding and things like that. Now, Elementor subscriptions range from about $59 to $399 per year, depending, of course, on the number of websites you get. So like $59 per year, it's not terrible, but you add those things on top of the web hosting, it really starts to add up. But you think about the one monthly payment, and I'm going to talk about how much that costs for their pro plan in a little bit here. That is going to make up the difference. So I really like what they have. They give you a few templates through Storiad's dashboard to choose from. Then you can customize all the elements as you see fit. You can put in everything you can imagine inside this website. So if you're on the fence, I think I'd mentioned last week about the best web hosting services, and there was a good reason why I brought it, Storiad. Storiad does the web hosting for you. Now just think about that. If I had to do it all over again, and I wanted a website and I wanted to keep it on the cheap, I probably would have went with Storiad as opposed to now where I'm paying a higher premium with a service like SiteGround. And it's considerably more than what I would spend over on Storiad. But lesson learned, either way, you can always consider using them for that. Now, they also have what's called the Planning Wizard. They called it the Marketing Wizard at one point, but I noticed they changed the verbiage. Now, essentially, if you're lost, you're like, there's a ton of tools, I can't figure it out, Dale. I don't know even where to go. The Marketing Wizard, or Planning Wizard as they call it now, you go through and you answer a questionnaire based on the book that you have, the budget you have, the time that you have, and your availability, all of that stuff. And it goes through and its AI kind of figures out what's going to be the best first steps for you. What are some of the best action plans that you can kind of put together? And the really cool thing is they actually have a new feature where, let's say you got the Planning Wizard put together, gives you a marketing plan of some sort, a nice little blueprint for you to kind of attack things. You can even save that to a new feature called Notes. More on that in just a second here. I want to transition over to their newest tool, and this is the huge reason why I wanted to review and revisit Storiad, is their new built-in AI tool called Storia. Think like Gloria, but Storia. Storia it's essentially like a tool, an AI tool that you can access from your dashboard, and it's a pop-out screen, and you can ask it just about anything you want. Storia is the author's dedicated book promotion strategy bot from Storiad. It's designed to provide you with like step-by-step guidance to strategy, content creation, research, and so much more. I even asked it at one point, I'm like, hey, can you fix my book description for me? And it was like, sure, just shoot me all the details. I thought that was really, really neat. I'm a big fan of AI. If for some reason you're anti-AI, you don't even have to use it. Not even a big deal. That's not even there, and the nice thing is there's no interaction in which it's collecting your data and training large language models. So you can at least breathe easy knowing that if you're anti-AI and you're like, I don't want to use a platform that's got AI, well, the nice thing is it's not forced. But I'm going to tell you, It's really, really neat. If you've followed my channel long enough, you know I'm a huge fan of Dibbly Create, and they have their own bot called KIP, which is artificial intelligence. Well, Storia is essentially like KIP, but for Storiad. Really neat, though. I think that they kind of quietly released that one, so it's really cool to kind of see that. Now, their other new feature is Notes, which you can store any notes you make with Storia and the book marketing wizard. And you can create folders based on your notes. So if for some reason you have different campaigns you want to put together and you have all these different things, you want to organize it better so it's easier to find, they got folders. You can kind of do that for your notes. All right, so what is some of the extra miscellaneous features that you should be aware of? Because there's plenty of them. They're big about helping account holders, as I'd mentioned before, especially anyone new to the platform. In fact, you can schedule a 15-minute phone call with them. Don't worry, they're not going to hard sell you on anything. Ramsey's the type of person, he'll give you what you need, and he's not going to blow a bunch of smoke at you. So don't expect to get upsold, downsold, or side sold or anything like that. The 15-minute phone call is all about helping you get the most out of your Storiad platform. They also have a full blog under their columns tab with detailed articles. That's 100% free to everybody. Really good articles. Go on in there. You can find out a little bit more about some of the features that they have, as well as some stuff that you need to probably know in marketing, promoting your book. I will tell you this, that Storiad is always improving and iterating. I don't anticipate having to do an update or revisit Storiad in the coming year. So unless something drastically changes in between now and then, but I would just anticipate, just keep an eye on them. They're always improving, iterating. Ramsey's very much not the type of person that he just wants to leave things just set and just do nothing with it. He wants to improve it. He wants to get it to where authors consider this the one-stop shop for all their marketing and promotional needs. All right, so the cost of Storiad. They're like, Dale, let's get to the point. There is the forever free plan. You can get the public profile author page that I'd mentioned before. You get unlimited books that you can upload there. You're not uploading the actual manuscript, just to be clear here. You have a book campaign organizer. You have the book worth calculator. You have the title, profit, and loss calculator as well. So that's it on the free plan. That's pretty nice, especially the author profile, especially if you're the type of person you don't have a website and you're kind of a wide author and you need to kind of get it to where you're not just sending people to Amazon. Great way to kind of think about things. Now, their pro plan is the only upgrade. It's $29 per month. They do have a 7-day free trial. You get everything in the free plan, of course. You also get Storia, the author support AI bot. You get a 100% customizable website. You get a book-specific marketing plan wizard. You get the contacts database with, again, over 49,000, approaching 50,000 contacts at this point. Good work, by the way, Storiad. You get email integration inside their platform. You get a public profile author page. That was redundant. I probably shouldn't have repeated that. You get live tech support. You get live book market strategy support. You get market research support. They are so fantastic. Now, what about that lifetime deal I'd mentioned before? It's no longer available on AppSumo, as I'd mentioned, and sadly, if you were kicking tires and you were sitting on the fence and wondering, should I get a lifetime deal or not after that AppSumo deal, guess what? It's gone. I just found out myself. If you're getting ready to yell at me and going, Dale, why didn't you tell me the lifetime deal was going? I didn't know. I honestly didn't know. It's gone now. It probably comes down to cost, folks, because if you think about the fact that they're hosting your website, they're giving you access to Elementor, and they have all these other tools, it's a lot. I've done lifetime deals myself in the past before, and it's great for customers, and it's really nice for your bank account initially, but as time goes on, you have a lot of upkeep and maintenance that you need to kind of consider, and probably in the instance of Storiad, employees to pay. So you really can't rely on lifetime deals. So sorry to say you missed out on a lifetime deal, but in my opinion, Storiad Pro is pretty good. You can always take Storiad Pro for a 7-day free trial. Visit my affiliate link at dalelinks.com/Storiad. That's spelled STORIAD. So that's Storiad, dalelinks.com/Storiad. Hey, get access to one of my preferred book marketing tools in Book Award Pro when you visit dalelinks.com/Book Award Pro. They work with all authors of every budget, from free to more premium features like the Pro plan. Again, visit dalelinks.com/Book Award Pro. Special thanks to my sponsors, Book Award Pro, for supporting this podcast and indie authors. All right, my final thoughts. Is Storiad still worth it? Yes, but there's a little asterisk there. everyone can afford the free plan. We can all agree that. Go over to play around with the free plan. If you're like, Dale, I don't want to do the 7-day free trial. That's fine. That's fine. Me personally, I'd try the 7-day free trial, honestly. You got nothing to lose in the 7 days. Just remember, if you have your credit card on file and you can't swing it or anything else like that, stop it before the 7 days are up. But I think once you give it a test spin, you might actually really enjoy it. If you have the budget, go for it. Do you need a website? Try it out. Need a deep contacts database without having to scroll around on Google trying to find out everything that you need to know? It's probably for you. Do you need additional help with developing a marketing strategy? Probably for you. Do you need a good one-page author profile that isn't just on Amazon? Storiad, it's probably for you. Now, the only time I would say if it's not worth it is, if you don't see any value in some of those tools. But I'm hard-pressed, even with the fact I've been in the business for a decade. And quite a few of those things, sure, I could probably do it without that. But things like the contacts database, that thing's priceless. It's saving me a ton of time, a lot of time. So, as we start to wrap things up here with today's podcast about Storiad, I want to let you know this next week, we're going to be talking about author membership services. I'm going to be covering a few of them, including the Alliance of Independent Authors, Authors Guild, the Independent Book Publishers Association, otherwise known as IBPA. We're going to talk about all that next week and discussing what are some of the pros and cons, what's the investment you can expect, and is this going to be something that all authors should take advantage of? Till later, this has been Self-Publishing with Dale, and I thank you so much for tuning in.